I'm Dr. Don Teague, the creator of the Alpha Zone, and it is my privilege today to have with us Clint Malarchuk, former All Star NHL goalie, former NHL coach, a man who has so much knowledge in the area of mental health for athletes, which is going to be a unique course that we'll be presenting through the Alpha Zone. And as well, believe it or not, in his spare time, he's an equine dentist. So, Clint, I want you to talk about all that and what you plan on bringing to the Alpha Zone. And I'm going to be quiet now and let you take it away. So go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. Great to be here. Great to be a part of the Alpha Zone. I think, just the human part of an athlete is where I can add value, because people think we're so tough, not just physically, but mentally as well. And I found it ironic. I was retired. I was still coaching, and I wrote a book, and I could not believe how many athletes, not just hockey players, read the book, number one, but reached out because I put my email in the back of the book, and they said, "Thank you. I thought I was the only one." And I just went, wow, I thought I was the only one, because I talk a lot about the anxiety that goes with being a high level athlete. The other factors, I've struggled with mental illness my whole life almost. And so I always thought I was mentally weak as an NHL goaltender. And as an NHL goaltender, you're supposed to be the rock, the mentally tough one. And looking back, I was double tough because I was dealing with mental illness and the pressures of being a professional athlete at the highest level. So I think what I have to offer is how to manage the stressors, also the stressors of life. I mean, athletes, people think they just go to the game and play the game. There's so much more involved, and they also got families, and they've got problems. They've got life issues like every other human being. And how do you separate that when you go and perform? An athlete might be going through a divorce and all that goes on with that. And now got to go play a game. How do you turn that off and go out there and play at your best? So these things I experienced as a player, as a coach. Interesting too. When I was goalie coaching in the NHL, it was interesting because all the goalies nowadays, they start with, there's so much goalie coaching. It's been revolutionary. The position has been revolutionized, first of all, with the butterfly, and the game has changed in that regard. But they start young, going to these camps. And when they get to the NHL, they've all got that physical skills down to the technique, the technical part of being a goaltender. What they do struggle with a little bit and a lot is managing the pressures. And again, I'm just going to reiterate, not just the pressures of the position or being a professional athlete, but the pressures of the home as well, managing the kids, the wife. Like I said, you might be going through some depression, anxiety, because a lot of people, I mean, the numbers are staggering. And I'm in the mental health field now, and I do a lot of public speaking, and I meet people all the time. They come up after a talk, or they'll email me after a book, and you'd be surprised how many athletes, athletes read sports books. So that's why I get a lot of athletes reaching out to me after, and usually it's not in depth. Yes, there's players that I do coaching as well, like life coaching. I call it success coaching. I'm an advanced certified coach. And so I deal with a lot of people, athletes and people, regular people, dealing with the mental illness part, or the mental health part. I don't like saying mental illness, because we're not always mentally ill when we struggle, but we might be going through emotional sickness of some kind because of something that might be going on in your life.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, our potential enrollees in the Alpha Zone, when they sign up with you, they could be signing up for mental health counseling in some way, if they're athletes, especially in that, dealing with the athlete, the sport, but also the mental health, as you point out. They could also get some pretty good tips on how do you play goaltending position. I think you know a little bit about that. So I think that would be great. I know you're not going to be teaching anything on equine dentistry, but I think that's very cool that you went into a whole different career when you finished your playing days and your coaching days. Do you have one or two comments about that before we sign off here?
Well, it's funny. I always struggled in school. I was a terrible student, mostly because my home life, I had an abusive alcoholic father. I think that caused a lot of my mental struggles, especially the depression, the anxiety, things like that. But in school, oh man, I struggled. And I had obsessive compulsive disorder as well, which ended up helping me in a lot of ways, just with repetition, being an athlete. But yeah, just I think the whole I lost my train of thought, Doc. I know
Well,
you
I
can
think
edit.
what you're saying is
Oh,
that
okay. I've
go ahead,
got it.
go
So
ahead.
I'm going to pause and you can edit how you
Oh,
want.
not a problem.
I'll start over there. Having struggled with mental illness my whole life practically, um, I struggled in school terribly because of my mental health problems. Yet it's funny because I look back and I can barely read, yet I wrote a book. I've got an honorary doctorate. I public speak. I'm a success coach, and I'm going, wow, I did a lot for a guy that really not book smart. And it's amazing if you put your mind to something, how you can. And yeah, being an equine dentist and an equine chiropractor, I went to school when I got my mental health back, and I was 38 years old when I went to those schools. And I whipped through it. I mean, I was not stupid. I thought I was stupid because I struggled in school in my adolescence and that. So yeah, it's amazing
Yeah.
what we can do.
I mean, your story is amazing. I really have to say that. I am really thrilled that you're part of this group. Um, the best is yet to come with the Alpha Zone, having Clint Malarchuk as a member. And with that, I want to say, listen, have a great day. And we are ready to move on and get you going here with people who can learn from you, both the game of hockey, but the game of life just as well.
Yeah.
So have a
Well,
great one.
I'm pumped. Thanks, Doc. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one.